Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 22nd day of May 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands this morning, and they are not too busy, at least earlier, not too busy. It seems as if there may be a school holiday again today, I believe. Maybe a school holiday, so not as much traffic on our roads. But for those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, again, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember that the roadways are there for everyone to utilize. You are not the sole user of the roadways, so when you are using them, you have to be mindful of all of those other persons using them as well. So if you're a pedestrian, you have to be mindful of the other vehicular traffic that may be on the road, or even pedestrians for that matter, if you're walking not on the road but on the sidewalks, as well. The same applies to those who are operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads. We know that some people bring their own attitudes and their own culture and take them with them wherever they go, and they are displayed. Sometimes, it is a good display of culture. Sometimes it's a terrible display of culture as well. And not to forget also that as the host country, we do have our shortcomings here as well. So everyone should be mindful of all of those other persons who are using the roadways as well. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, we want to wish you a happy birthday as well. And to remind you that For the Record, birthday shout-outs proudly brought to you by More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture, tap into your roots. More Than Words, located on the second floor of the Thompson Building. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Again this morning, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261. You can also call us on that number as well. Can only accommodate one caller at a time. You can follow us on YouTube. You do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live streaming. And of course, we are on Facebook as well. So first of all, folks, let's look at our birthday shout-outs. Today, we have a Jesse Albalat, who's celebrating a birthday today. Mr. Lance Jefferson, also celebrating a birthday today. And we have been asked to send a birthday shout-out, birthday greetings to Mr. Brandon Moxham, who is 27 years of age. Today, he is residing in the United Kingdom, and these greetings are coming from his grandmother, Miss Phyllis Jensen. She wishes him a happy birthday today as well. Let's see who's celebrating birthday in the next few days. Tomorrow, Anne Marie Foster Fitzgerald celebrating a birthday. Juanita Whitaker Maxwell also celebrating a birthday tomorrow. Lorna Green celebrating a birthday tomorrow. Roger George also celebrating a birthday tomorrow. So we want to wish all of those persons who are celebrating birthdays tomorrow, and of course those celebrating a birthday today as well. And to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs proudly brought to you by More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture, tap into your roots. More Than Words, located on the second floor of the Thompson building. Let's see what else we can share with you this morning as well. We had a press release that was issued on May the 18th by the Department of Environmental Health, and it has to do with bulk waste collection. So bulk waste collection moves to North Side and East End and the sister islands. So the Department of Environmental Health, DEH, is urging North Side and East End residents, as well as those living in Cayman Brac and the Little Cayman, to get their bulk waste ready for collection as its solid waste team moves to their communities from today, Monday, the 22nd of May 2023. Goes on to say, and I quote, "This is the final week of our schedule for the collection of bulk waste this year. We will be servicing the North Side, East End, and the sister islands simultaneously to complete the program, which for the first time is taking place ahead of the hurricane season. We want to reduce the amount of debris that could be generated by any form of severe weather," explained DEH Director Mr. Richard Sims. North Side, East End, and the sister islands residents are urged to prepare separate, and get their items ready for collection. Any bulk waste that is put out after the announced date will not be collected, as there will not be any extension of the schedule. The department is also reminding Bordentown residents that Saturday, May the 20th, was the last day for the collection of bulk waste in their area, and no further extension will be granted. Household appliances, furniture, and other items too large to be handled by the weekly DEH collection crews should be placed by the roadside for easy access by the Department of Environmental Health collection crews. Metals and vegetation should also be separated from other bulk items. Residents are reminded that for any construction and demolition debris, hazardous materials, electronics, and tires, persons are required to make alternative arrangements to transport these materials to the nearest landfill, as these items will not be collected during the bulk waste removal activity. Solid waste management crews are deployed from Monday to Saturday according to the remaining schedule. And of course, that remaining schedule is North Side, East End, May 22nd to the 27th in Cayman Brac. East Side and East Bluff, May 22nd to 23rd. West Side and West Bluff, May 24th to 25th. South Side, May 26th. In Little Cayman, all locations in Little Cayman will be dealt with on May 24th. The press release goes on to say that during this cleanup exercise, the collection of residential waste continues as scheduled. However, garbage should be stored in sturdy containers prior to its collection and properly placed in their respective enclosures. I would say in their respective enclosures if there are any, because there are some places who do not have enclosures, and they really should have them. The release goes on to say that the Georgetown landfill operates from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays until 1 p.m. on Saturdays and is closed on Sundays. The landfill drop-off facility at the gate will remain accessible to the public and small vehicles 24 hours per day. If you want additional information, please contact the DEH at 949-6696. You can also email them at dehcustomerservice@gov.ky, or you can visit the DEH's website, www.gov.ky/DEH, or you can message them on Facebook as well. So folks, that is the full content of that press release in relation to the bulk waste schedule that starts in East End and North Side, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman today. Folks, we have to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Amos M. Forbes, J.P., 1910-1989. Amos Forbes operated a store in Savannah for H. O. Merrin and Company for many years. He was a great source of help to the community in hard times. On leaving Savannah, he opened a restaurant and a guest house in Georgetown. He was married twice and was the father of one child. He served as a vestryman and a justice of the peace and was a very devout man.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Ensuring your walls, ceilings, and floors are properly sealed against air leaks is an important step in lowering your monthly energy bills. Even small gaps around windows, under doors, or around lighting and plumbing fixtures can add up to as much air loss as having an open window.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costulest, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
So much happening, so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture. Tap into your roots. More Than Words bookstore in the Thompson Building. Supplies local books, gifts, trinkets, keepsakes, wall plaques, and journals. The hub for local authors. More Than Words. So much more. More Than Words is now open. Shop number 4, 2nd floor Thompson Building. Or call 936-5544.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio. We should have one or two, possibly two guests in the studio after the 8 o'clock news, around about 8:15. Meanwhile, let's talk about a few things. We know that the Premier, as well as the Governor, traveled to the UK. And then we also know that there was a delegation that also went to attend the joint ministerial council meeting that took place. Haven't seen too much yet in the local press in relation to it, hoping to see more and to hear more about it. But meanwhile, other jurisdictions have come forward with some of the results that they have been able to achieve from the Joint Ministerial Council. But before I go there, on the 12th of May of this year, after the Joint Ministerial Council meetings were concluded, a communique was issued. Normally, this communique will come as a result of agreements by all of the parties concerned in terms of what should be in that communique. So I'm going to try to briefly share this with you. It says that we, the ministers of the overseas territories and elected leaders and representatives of the overseas territories, met as the Joint Ministerial Council on the 11th to 12th of May. Ministers and representatives from across the UK government, including the Home Office, Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, I think that's the acronym for that is DEFRA, Department of Transport, His Majesty's Treasury, Department of Health and Social Care, and the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero joined. We also welcomed the newly elected leaders of the British Virgin Islands. The Joint Ministerial Council provided an opportunity to reflect on the coronation of His Majesty the King and pay tribute to Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We also reflected on successes of the year, such as working together to respond to global events like COVID-19 and Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, and challenges of the year, including rising crime and irregular migration in some territories. The partnership between the United Kingdom and overseas territories has helped us deliver these successes and meet these challenges. It goes on to talk about partnership and principles. The Foreign Secretary reaffirmed that the overseas territories are an integral part of the undivided realm. The long-standing and deep partnerships give us strength in this rapidly changing world. We are family under one realm, united by shared values and pushing in the same direction to overcome shared challenges. In keeping with the founding intentions of the Joint Ministerial Council as the highest forum for political dialogue and consultation between the UK and overseas territories, we approached these discussions with the purpose of promoting cooperation in areas of mutual interest. We discussed key priorities with an aim to promote the security and good governance of the territories, their sustainable development, economic and social progress, and to agree priorities, develop plans, and review implementation. We welcome the Foreign Secretary's announcement of a new UK government strategy on the overseas territories. We look forward to collaborating in its development, setting the direction for a relationship firmly based on the principles of collaboration and mutual interest. The overseas territories further welcome that each government department will have an assigned minister responsible for their department's relationship with the territories. These ministers will meet as a group chaired by the Minister for the Overseas Territories. The principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples as enshrined in the United Nations Charter applies to the peoples of the overseas territories. The United Kingdom and the overseas territories reaffirmed the importance of promoting the right of self-determination for the peoples of the territories, which is a collective responsibility of all parts of the United Kingdom government. We will continue to explore ways in which the overseas territories can maintain international support in countering hostile sovereignty claims, yes, for those territories with permanent populations who wish it. The United Kingdom will continue to support requests for the removal of the territory from the United Nations list of non-self-government territories. And then they go on to talk about law enforcement, what the accomplishments or what they agreed in relation to law enforcement, economic and financial resilience, also environment and climate change, as well as healthcare, maritime strategy, education and pensions. All of those things were discussed. Now, I'm going to highlight healthcare because, again, we see where the Bermudan authorities have put forward have released and announced to their people, and this is a headline from the Royal Gazette, residents to get access to UK National Health Services care at cheaper rates. That's in a Bermudan newspaper, the Royal Gazette. My question, a rhetorical question, really, even though in this particular case I do know the answer, does this extend to the Cayman Islands? And if it does, have we heard about it yet? Should we hear about it? Should we know what it is all about? If we haven't, I will be sharing that with you when we return after the 8 o'clock news, what this access of residents to the UK's National Health Services care at cheaper rates, what it is all about. So, folks, we're going to our 8 o'clock news, top of the hour. When we return, For the Record will continue, so don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
So it's your turn to cook tonight. What are we having?
Well, we have chicken thighs, pork chops, sirloin steak, grenadier fry.
Wow, so many options.
Yeah, I got them from the Foster's Pick 5 selection. You can choose any 5 specially marked packs for $19.99. The meat is always fresh and never previously frozen. It's the perfect way to stock up for the week.
So all of this only costs $19.99?
It sure did.
Pick 5 is available at all locations and selection may vary between stores. Foster's, better value because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. Another preschool comes under the microscope. According to school inspectors at the Office of Education Standards, a recent inspection shows that the overall performance of Shining Stars Childhood Care and Education Center has been deemed satisfactory. The report says, of note, the center made notable improvements in key aspects of provision since the last inspection back in 2020. Shining Stars Childhood Care and Education Center received good judgments for children's achievement and progress in exploration, communication, and well-being, as well as learning. Almost all children were interested and engaged in what they learned about and were able to work independently. They also received good judgment for health and safety. The report says leaders and staff placed a suitable emphasis on child's health and well-being. Links with parents in the community were judged as good. The center utilized a variety of effective communication strategies to consult with and share information with parents, and parents reported being fully involved in the work of the center. Shining Stars Childhood Care and Education Center got satisfactory judgments for teaching. There was a positive climate in the center which facilitated child's learning in the context of play. Almost all teachers knew their children well and planned engaging activities. The report says although there was some variability in the quality of teaching, most were adept at engaging the children in their learning and getting them to try new activities. Other satisfactory judgments include assessment, curriculum support and guidance, leadership, self-evaluation, school improvement planning, and staffing in the learning environment. Children from schools on Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac found themselves in a circle of love this weekend as the Women's Ministry hosted a breakfast and celebration focused on building their self-esteem and encouraged them on developing their journey to become future leaders of the Cayman Islands.
Child Month is a special month that focuses on a generation of leaders who will pave the way for our future. I say to each of you this morning, as a leader myself, I'm leaving it in your capable hands when it's time. You must be the ones who will take up the mantle and run with it when you become of age.
Parliamentary Secretary Heather Bodden gave brief remarks to kick off the event, which included performances from the kids throughout the morning and prize giveaways and treats. Organizer Judy Hunter says the event is now in its 10th year and is still going strong. Her message to the youth?
Like the theme this month says, investing in our children means investing in our future. So we're investing in you so you can invest in yourself.
May is Child Month in the Cayman Islands. Now with the check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. The owner of Facebook and Instagram, Meta, has been fined more than $1 billion for breaking European Union rules. It's accused of mishandling users' data when transferring it to the US. The company said it would appeal against the punishment. A fire at a school in Guyana has killed at least 20 people. It broke out overnight, engulfing a dormitory and trapping students. Guyana's president described the incident as painful. The United States has signed a defence pact with Papua New Guinea. Washington hopes the deal will counter China's growing influence in the Pacific. The Spanish football giants Real Madrid have lodged a complaint of hate crime after their striker Vinicius Junior was racially abused by opposition fans. Sunday's match between Real and Valencia was briefly suspended after the Brazil international, who's black, called for the referee to intervene. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan says he believes his life is in danger and fears he may be arrested again. Mr. Khan was detained on corruption charges this month, but was freed after the Supreme Court intervened. He says there's a risk elections due in October won't go ahead. The Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis says he wants another round of parliamentary elections as soon as possible. His centre-right party won the most seats on Sunday, but failed to get a majority. South African health officials have urged people to stop drinking tap water because of a cholera outbreak which has killed at least 12 people. More than 100 others have shown symptoms after drinking contaminated water in a township north of the capital, Pretoria. A fire has ripped through a government building in Malawi, destroying key departments containing sensitive information. Social media has been awash with suggestions that it may have been started deliberately. World News from the BBC.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with Valley Med Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Have you recently quit smoking? Are you having trouble fighting the urge? Breathing deeply can help when the urge strikes. Take deep breaths and imagine your lungs filling up with fresh, clean air. Get more tips like this at the Smoking Cessation Program at the Public Health Department. Classes begin on Wednesday, May 31st. Call 244-2889 for registration. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in conjunction with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 77%. The barometric pressure is 29.87 inches and rising. The wind is out of the north-northwest at 5 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees. Synopsis indicate light winds and smooth seas are expected to continue for the next few days in association with a weak pressure gradient over the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman Islands drifting towards the south. Now the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 40% chance of afternoon showers, and temperatures today will be in the upper 80s with a heat index of 106 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds will be light and variable, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. Tonight we can expect partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures dipping to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be light and variable, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. High tide will be this morning at 10:49, low tide this evening at 5:13, and the sun will set this evening at 6:55 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:49. And the outlook is calling for similar conditions through Wednesday morning.
Mommy, why can't dogs talk? Why do I have to go to school and you don't? Why do you sing in the morning when you're bad at it? Why don't you brush your teeth when you take me to school? Why doesn't it ever snow here? Why does Daddy take the bus to work? Why are trees so tall? Why don't you tell me where babies come from? Mommy, Mommy, Mommy!
We're like a kid that doesn't ask a million questions before noon. CG Britcay. Good like that.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. There's no great success without commitment.
As motivational speaker Tony Robbins said, individuals who succeed have a belief in the power of commitment. If there's a single belief that seems almost inseparable from success, it's that there's no great success without commitment. If you look at successful people in any field, you'll find they're not necessarily the best and the brightest, the fastest and the strongest. You'll find they're the ones with the most commitment.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by On Course Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On Course Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. On Course Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On Course Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look this time at traffic. And traffic coming off of the Esterly Tibbetts Highway is bumper to bumper as you approach the roundabout, continuing on to Industrial Park area, steady traffic. And traffic is moving on steadily in both directions on North Sound Road. As we look to Bobby Thompson Way, traffic is busy coming off of there and to the east on Shamrock Road and Rex Crichton Boulevard flowing moderately. Linford Pearson Highway, steady but flowing traffic. And coming off of the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way, traffic is steady as well. And on Cool Road, traffic bumper to bumper heading towards Georgetown. And eastbound traffic on Cool Road is moderate. Slow moving traffic on Walker's Road heading to Georgetown. And as we look to downtown Georgetown on Edward Street, moving on pretty good. And traffic flowing nicely on Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue. And as we look to the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is steady heading to Georgetown. And traffic heading from Georgetown to West Bay on the West Bay Road, traffic is moderate. And from the West Bay four-way stop, moving on pretty good. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, but in a few minutes we will have two ministers in the studio with us. I won't tell you who they are. You will have to continue to listen in order to hear. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about our historical vignettes that are played on Radio Cayman. Certainly quite informative, and we need them, and we need more of them as well. Now, I may end up like Don Lemon of CNN fame or infamy to a certain extent, but I'm going to be a little critical about those historical vignettes, some of them. One in particular this morning. How many of you know who Innes Forbes was? Some may not. If I asked you, how many of you knew who Mr. Champy was, I am sure that many more persons would know and recognize the name of Mr. Champy than Innes Forbes. Now, here is what I'm going to say in addition to that. Why aren't we utilizing our local resources that we still have, who are living resources in the Cayman Islands, persons like the Honorable Mayor Lawrence and Dr. Steve McFeel, when these things are being developed, like the historical vignettes, and so that we can get the relevant information. Yes, we may find something he is founded upon the seas, but not all of the details are there. How many of you knew that we spoke about the fact that he managed a store in Savannah? That was Marin's brand store. How many of you knew that brand store actually caught fire and was destroyed by fire? How many of you knew that what used to be Coronation Inn was owned by Mr. Champy, also known as Innes Forbes? How many of you know where it was located? Yes, you may know where Roy's Boutique was located, but that's where Coronation Inn was before that as well. We need to use our local resources. If we can hire, what do you call them again? The dinosaur civil servants to run some of our regulatory agencies, or to be executive directors or CEOs of some of our regulatory authorities. Why aren't we using natural-born Caymanians to get details? Historical vignettes, it is really, really good resource, good to know, but we need to get more local input on it as well. So folks, if I'm not on the show on Wednesday, then you know I have joined Don Lemon in the ranks of the unemployed in here in the Cayman Islands. So we're going to have Minister Brian and another minister. I'll give you one now, and then the other one when they come on, they will be in the studio as well. So we have a caller, Miss Susan. Oh, okay, we do have a caller, Minister Brian. Good morning, Minister. Welcome to For the Record. Looking forward to seeing you in person in the studio soon.
Very much so, very much. Good morning, OC, and good morning to your listening audience. I do apologize. I like to be on time, but the traffic has got a hold of me. And I am just right here at the cricket field, so I'm just moments away, and I want to encourage everybody who is tuned in to call a friend and say to tune in, because myself and another minister will be on very shortly to talk about some very important matters that relate to the people of the country. So I'm sorry again for being late, but I'll be there in hopefully 5 to 7 minutes, all right?
Okay, look forward to seeing you here as well, Minister. And if they had that east-west arterial extension, maybe he would have gotten in here a little bit quicker, but we'll talk about that. Okay, so folks, the joint minister, another call? Okay, we have two callers lined up. We're going to take the callers over what I have to say. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, O.C. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Just want to comment on what you were just saying there about Dr. Frank and the latest, Ms. Seymour. It is so true what you said regarding that, and I have always wondered why the education system do not impede them into the system, into the schools. They can go throughout the island, Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac, educating our people regarding who we are, where we came from, and whatever the likes may be. I think they need to take something in stance and we get these things done and then get it done as quick as possible before our people, our children rather, lose the identity of who they know or where we come from and who we are. So it was a good point that you brought up. And I think they should infill them in some type of system inter-government schooling.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there that may not be in the syllabus, for social studies or whatever we call it, in our curriculum. But yes, and I do believe that there are occasions when they do invite speakers to come in. I do recall. At one point, Dr. McFeel and myself actually went to the Clifton Hunter High School to talk to them there several years ago as well. But point well taken. We need more of it, or if it's happening, then we need to know about it.
Yes, because I mean, when you stop and think that you go to the schools and you ask our kids who our premier or governor or leaders of the country is, they can't tell you. But they can tell you the population and the rulers of other countries throughout the Caribbean. That doesn't give our children no growing knowledge of our country, and that's a sad thing for what our children coming up knowing.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Don't forget the bulk waste collection taking place in the Brac now as well in Little Cayman. Okay. Thank you very much. Caller, we have two more callers, 7 minutes before we go to our break. We're going to try to entertain both callers before then. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C.
Good morning, sir. How are you again?
I'm very thankful. I was listening to you regarding not using our own to get the historical details and facts of Cayman's history.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not going to do that. If we don't come from across the pond, there's no interest in what local expertise we have here. I have been an advocate of people like Dr. Steve McFeel, who's a historian. People like the one great Mr. Roy Button.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't these people? These people shelf life has not expired. Why don't we just? Why don't the country say to them, listen, here, this is what we're going to offer you. We want you to go to the schools and teach this to the children coming up, right? That they will have a broad knowledge of what is happening. But that's not going to happen because as long as we don't, and I don't care. I make no exception this morning because I am to the point where I don't care what they want to say or do to me. Don't kill the messenger, but listen to the message. As long as we're not British or we don't come from some international, somewhere overseas, no one thinks we know anything. That is the whole long and short about it. Okay?
Yep.
So while you might be Don Lemon, I might be something else next week too. But irregardless, I don't care. If to that stage nowhere, if we don't stand up, if we don't stand up, it's gonna all go right downhill.
Yep.
And that's where it's happening right now.
Yep, that's so true.
I know I'm preaching to the choir, but but it's sad.
You keep preaching. You keep preaching. Sooner or later, they'll all start to listen and not only listen but react as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's take our next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. This is just a brief point and probably pales in comparison to what others have said, but it's something I've observed and been meaning to mention. It's about the road drains that are placed along the roads for drains. I've noticed, at least on my street where I live, They're two. And what I notice is that they are square holes with a 12-inch circular round pipe down inside for the deep well. But surrounding that area where the pipe goes down, there's always water settled. There's always an accumulation of water that has nowhere to go. And I'm wondering if that could possibly have something to do with our mosquito situation, that after the rains, this water is left there standing.
Standing, yes.
Yeah, and I've looked at quite a few now since I started making that observation. In every case, the ones I've looked at have this water settling around the deep well pipe, and it can't go into it because the pipe is
higher than, yes.
It's higher. And they recently installed a new one down in this area, and I live off Crew Road, and that one is really strange. It's the highest point in the road, the drain. So the water settles on the outside and can't get into the drain because the drain is the highest point in that road. And I know it wasn't done directly by NRA. They had an independent contractor or a private contractor do it. It was put in just recently. And beautiful looking piece of work, but there's no way for the water, unless we have a serious flood. The water can't get in because it's higher than the surrounding area. So that's it. I'm just hoping someone could look into it. And which I don't see anyone going around putting treatment in it, because if the water is treated, it wouldn't. But I don't think so. I think it's just standing water there and could possibly be contributing to our mosquito problem. So thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You have a great day as well. Let's see if we can squeeze one more call in before the break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I already mentioned a while ago about, I know you don't have much time, about Mr. Chaffee, Forbes, and Miss Ina, his wife. Miss Ina used to have a little store there at Mr. Edward Bennett's house, which is where the cruise ship area is, entrance there in Sports. When we were young, we used to have to walk across from Georgetown to Savannah or Lovale, and that was like a haven to get there and get something cool to drink or something to snack to eat.
Wow.
Mr. Chaffee, yes, used to operate Merrin's store there in Savannah. And there was the wall is still there, but it filled in the road a good bit since. But a young child jumped off of that wall while it was a lot of flood rain there, actually broke his neck because it wasn't deep enough for him to survive. And also Coronation Inn, Mr. Chappie and Miss Ina used to run that.
Yes.
He had a little restaurant there. And he was a justice of the peace, so I went there several times for him to sign witness documents for me as well. So they're the good old days. Yeah, we'll never see them again.
That is so true. That is so true. But see, and my point was that all of the details that you're passing on there as well, to me, so much more could be included in those historical vignettes if we really want to get a message across about how those persons are and want to retain that for posterity.
Yeah, I think we've done a pretty poor job with recording our history over the years. I think we should do more. A few people did some of it. They've passed away now, so I don't know if anyone is doing anything much now or not. Anyway, just thought I'd stick a pin, so I remember a lot of those things that you were talking about.
Thank you very much as well. And of course, I'm not, I'm just going by what was said, but it was said that Mr. Chappie, as a justice of the peace, when he heard cases, that he famously said to one person who was appearing in front of him, if you weren't guilty, you wouldn't be here. I don't know how true that was, but that has been ascribed to him.
He used to charge for his services too, which wasn't really supposed to do that. At least maybe it might have been allowed those days, but certainly not these days. And I know some people have been charging people it's an honorary position. You're not supposed to charge people for that service whatsoever.
Yeah, if you're a notary public, you can charge because you pay an annual fee for it, but not a justice of the peace. And there are other jurisdictions where they have had similar problems with the justice of the peace charging as well. Mr. Tommy, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and that information with us as well. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Before I introduce my guest, one of our listeners wrote and said, when I was a messenger at the old wireless station in the early 60s, I ate my lunch at the Coronation Inn from Mr. Chappie. That's coming from Mr. Joey Ebanks. And say he got his food on credit until he got paid at the end of the month as well. So that's interesting. And I've received something else here. Okay, I'll deal with that separately. So, folks, you heard that Minister Bryan was going to be in the studio with us. What you didn't hear was that Minister Dwayne Seymour would be in the studio with us as well. So that is the big surprise this morning as well. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, again, and good morning to your listening audience. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here to talk to the good people of Cayman and respect the issues that face them. And I'm so happy this morning I'm joined with my colleague, Minister, Mr. Seymour.
Good morning, OC. Thank you for having us on. I was only called last night, so I was glad I could make it through the traffic. Good morning to the radio listeners.
Okay. So, what I was sharing with my audience earlier about some of the statements that came out of the Joint Ministerial Council, and we did see Bermuda issue a press release in terms of what they were able to achieve. And at that time, when you read the Bermuda press release, you get the impression that it may have been solely Bermuda, but we see otherwise from the Joint Ministerial Council. And if I could share that very quickly before I come back to you, gentlemen. It's, on healthcare, it says the overseas territories welcomed progress in implementing the long-awaited reforms to the National Health Services quota system, which now offers greater flexibility and access, and for the first time includes Ascension, Tristan da Cunha, Pitcairn, Cayman, and Bermuda territories. Also welcome the commitment to regular reviews to ensure that the reforms meet individual territory needs, including mental health support. So, Minister Seymour, as a former minister for health, you would probably be familiar with, with some of these initiatives with the UK.
Yeah, definitely, and I do know that the UK has a long waiting list, and some of the frustration that's caused up there in the UK. I think we have a much better situation here, especially after we added Health City but health care actually that's going to be the one thing that's going to put a lot of countries in debt, and it needs to be controlled. We need to find ways to manage our healthcare costs. Otherwise, that's going to be the number one item on the budget.
Certainly, Mr. Bryan.
Thanks again, OC. In respect to the overseas GMC meetings and discussions in the communique that came back, unfortunately, we have not been provided with that last report, so we can be abreast of what's going on. So we'll wait to hear from the Premier to give us that connection for the outstanding findings. It's good to hear that as overseas territories are having discussions to help benefit in many different ways, and like you heard there, the healthcare cost. I think what was interesting as I listened to the debate that happened in Parliament, which was a backbench debate on territories, and I'll just give me a second, I'll tell you exactly what the topic of the debate was, where you had a number of opposition and government members opining on the overseas territories and crown territories discussions and the new way forward. That some things like the opportunity for mass purchase of medicines, which makes the cost of medicines be a lot cheaper. Stuff like that are things that we should be investigating for our country, because when we talk about the fact of cost of living and we can't reduce it, you got to find out what opportunities are available for you to discuss that. But that was one area. I must say that we didn't have much time to prepare for what discussions would have happened when our representative, the Honorable Premier, and Andre Ebanks, Minister, went over to discuss to see what avenues were open and available to us to take benefit. So I don't think we were fully organized, but the good news is that there seems to be an attitude of openness for dialogue, for changes to the structure of our relationship with the overseas territories, and opportunities for benefit. And that's an example of one of them. But I thought it would be interesting that I read the motion that was debated on in respect to the overseas territories by some of the members of Parliament in the UK. It says that this House is committed to upholding the interests of British overseas territories and their citizens, recognize the special historical, cultural, and social bonds that binds the United Kingdom and overseas territories, and calls upon government to ensure that British overseas territory citizens' rights as British citizens are upheld, to defend the sovereignty and the borders of overseas territories from foreign powers, and to consider the unique circumstances of each territory when formulating policies which affect them. Now, that last part is most important to Cayman, in my humble opinion, which is something that I've been inquiring with the governor's office here, is for us to have an open dialogue about some of these obligations that we're committed to and treaties that bring cost upon the people of Cayman. And one example of that is the asylum obligation that we have with a lot of people coming from Cuba, how much millions of dollars that we pay to meet this requirement as to the UN obligations. So basically what I'm saying is that there was a lot said, and I really encourage every person, and even encourage Radio Cayman, if they could air that debate and announce when they will be airing it, so every Caymanian, every resident of this country listens to that discussion, because that discussion with the various different members of Parliament highlighted a number of different areas of focus for the UK and their thoughts on overseas territories and crown dependencies. And a lot of them have relationship to us. Obviously, there is an attitude moving forward talking about the British family, and that's a new slogan now, is the British family outside. I'm so glad to hear that we're now a part of the family. Not saying that we weren't never
no longer
before.
partners. We were partners before.
Partners before, now we're family members. But there's a number of things that are coming out of this, like the PACAC, which is the Public Administrations and Constitutional Affairs Committee, that's made up of members of Parliament in the UK, is now doing a new inquiry into the relationship of the OTs. So there seems to be an attitude of almost reform with the relationships and opportunities for each one of the countries. And we as a country have to pay close attention to what is happening there. We heard in that debate also by David Rutley, who is the opposition member, that my apologies, that was the representative for the Prime Minister, but they were talking about a new cross-government strategy for the overseas territories, working closely and in partnership with these territories, because they have been accused of just letting the FCDO just talk to the territories. And the fact that it's called a foreign FCDO, the fact that they name it Foreign Affairs, tells you that the approach to how they deal with overseas territories is not quite similar to that as a family. I wouldn't say, boy, I talk to my foreign friend when if there's a family member. So you can see that the attitude is changing fundamentally, but there's a number of things that have come up, and particularly with the political atmosphere in the United Kingdom, there seems to be some sort of movement where that they feel the next government will be a Labour government. And for me, that is very interesting, because the representative, Mr. Stephen Donty, had a list of 5 principles upon which, if the Labour government was to take power in the UK, the things that they would be focusing on in respect to the overseas territories. And I was quite happy to hear what they were. And if you want to, we can read them, but you can see that with these steps moving forward, there's a reform, there's a change, and more countries have different issues. Overseas territories have different issues that they want to have that reform about. For Cayman, thank God we have less to be concerned about. But there are some fundamental things that we need to bring back to the table. For example, I said to you on the radio last evening, was the discussion about sole control of our decisions. Now, the Honourable Sir Alan McLaughlin was very instrumental in the negotiations of the last constitutional changes, and one of those were taken away off of the discussion table when he did so well with those negotiations, and which was the power for the governor to have direct or to write law in. We almost had that taken away from our constitution, and it was put back in. And I think that with the tone of the argument now, particularly about full control and determination of our decisions, we can bring it back to the table to say, no, we don't want that. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you there, Minister, but we have to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record with Minister Kenneth Bryan, and Minister Dwayne Seymour will continue shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Minister responsible for Border Control and Labor, Honorable Dwayne Seymour, and Minister for Tourism and Ports, Honorable Kenneth Bryan, in the studio with us. Minister, Mike, back over to you.
Yes, O.C., thanks again. I don't want to just blabber on about this debate in respect to the overseas territories, which happened on the Thursday, the 11th, in Parliament. But I think it's important that Radio Cayman gets a copy of this debate, do some promotions as to that debate, and air it so the Caymanian people can hear it. Because what we don't do enough of is to educate our people as to what is transpiring in the UK in respect to discussions about Cayman and other overseas territories. So what is happening with another overseas territory in respect to the constitutional relationship is very important for us to monitor, even if it doesn't affect us, because we could be in that boat at some point. So I think it's important that we get that copy of that so everybody can listen to it. We can dive into that a little bit further. I wish Dr. Matfield was here.
And what we should be watching carefully also, I think the British Virgin Islands will be looking into rewriting their constitution, as well, and see what they're able to achieve, from that as well.
Yeah,
interesting.
Like I said before, I think what is coming forward is opportunity for reform. That's the most important thing to take away. And with that opportunity for reform, it's time for us to look at our current structure and say, what do we want changed? What do we want to add? What do we want to take away that helps benefit the people of this country? So we will be talking with the Honorable Premier, who is our representative in JMC, to go through that and have that analysis, and as well as the opposition. Because we all are in this together, regardless of which government. It's about the structure upon which our country is governed. So I encourage everybody to listen to that. But all of that came up from the fact of the Boundary Commission report that the Honorable Dr. Macfield was speaking about on Friday, and I think subsequently on Wednesday as well. Yes. So with those discussions brought up the fact of things that are of importance from a constitutional change perspective, which was, as they doing that boundary assessment, questions about persons with permanent residence, whether they should vote. And obviously that sparked a bit of a conversation, because I adamantly fought against that, and I'm not going to support that at all. And then I went on to carry it a little bit further to say, actually, I think it's time for us to what I'm terming now today as it's time for us to lock the gate. And the reason for that, I had an opportunity this weekend to sit down and analyze in depth what my position is on that and why. And I go, but obviously I'm a representative. I'm not here just about what I feel, but what about the people that I represent feel. And that's why I've brought it up. So I'm hoping that I can give a better understanding as to my position on that and see what the people think. And obviously the Minister of Labour is here, and he can speak for himself. But I think it's important that I say this before I say anything else. I want to make it clear that I'm speaking on my own behalf. We have not taken a government position on none of these matters yet collectively. Mm-hmm. I have to recognize the fact that I'm a minister of this government, and we are held to collective responsibility once there's a decision made in cabinet. There has been none done so far. So in light that I'm an independent member of this government, I'm only sharing what my personal views are and what I will be bringing to the discussion table as a part of this government on these particular immigration matters. So talking about, and I want to, Minister, I hope I'm not taking up too much of the speaking time.
No, you go right ahead.
But I want to try to clarify some points in respect to what I said. So the question was, why do I think there should be a moratorium on statuses? That's what created much of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I feel this way because many people have said so to me or expressed concerns related to the effects that they're having on their lives and in their livelihoods due to the current construction of our immigration legal framework, meaning how people are allowed to get status. But before I elaborate even further on the effects that my people are feeling that they speak of, I think it's important for us to understand what I'm saying. And you have to, in order for us to do that, we have to define what moratorium is and what status is. Now, moratorium is basically a stoppage, a hold, a temporary, a postponement of an activity. Mm-hmm. And that activity that we're talking about is the granting of a status in the Cayman context. So, but it's also important for us to understand what a status is. And in Cayman, there's 5 main types of statuses that we talk about. And first off is the one, status by birth, meaning you're we call you generational Caymanian. Status based on descent, meaning if a Caymanian moved away and they had a child overseas, that child comes back home, or that grandchild comes back home and they get the status by descent. The third one is status by marriage, and that's a grant by a Caymanian giving another person true love, the status and freedoms of our country. But that's timely because it can be taken away within a certain period of time. And then you have the other 2 status grants, which is one done by years of residency. Once the years of residency is over, you can apply for status in your own right. And the last one, which is the grant for status by cabinet. And now that usually falls if one of the 4 other ones I just mentioned isn't relevant. The government can make a decision whether there's special circumstances that this person is deemed could be Caymanian and we should give it to them, and it happens in cabinet, has to go to parliament and approved, and it's 5 per year. So we know what status is and what the definition of status is and what we're trying to deliver. But what we have to consider when a person is talking, or the people saying we don't like this feeling of the grants of status, why are they feeling that way? And I am trying to dive down to the psychological elements of it, which is it's because you're giving away a right. And when you give status away, you're giving away some powers. So what are those powers? And I named the 3 that are most focused. So 1, you give away the voting power, which is a political power. Secondly, you give away the freedom of movement in the Cayman Islands, which is an immigration power. And thirdly, the freedom from any limitations of ownership restrictions. Let me say that again because it have to be clear. Freedom from any limitations from ownership restrictions. So right now, as a foreigner, you have to have a 60-40 partnership if you want to open a company. When you become Caymanian, you no longer need another Caymanian to do a business. You can do it solely out by yourself.
Or by virtue of a local company's control license as well.
Yes, LCCL, which is another topic altogether, and we're going to discuss that on another day. But when we define those things that were given away, I said to myself, well, why are my people upset about another human being getting these principal freedoms? And it's quite simple. If you look at the current issues that we're facing today, let's talk about the first one, which is the current rate and speed of these grants are changing the balance of the political power. Because, and by no means, all new Caymanians, we embrace them and we want to take them a part of our family because they're in the gate. So they're a part of this. But what we do recognize is new Caymanians come with a foundation of principles that could be different than us. This is where your cultural norms come into play. So hypothetically, if you had a voting block of 100, right now we're still in a stronghold position to control the parliament through voting. There's still more generational Caymanians who vote than there are non-generational Caymanians who can vote. Therefore, most likely you get a group of parliamentarians who will fight to protect our norms. Once that balance changes, so for right now, let's say for instance we got 60% of the voting block is generational Caymanian and 40% isn't. Once that switches the ratio, then you can potentially have a group of members elected whose job is to listen to those who they represent. And if those who they represent have a different view on moral and cultural things, for example, what if you had 10 years from now a situation where majority of the leaders that are elected by new Caymanians whose position is, I don't think the country should be allowing turtle to be eaten because it's not a part of their culture. They don't understand it. They don't know the hardships of our people, what they went through, the fact that it used to be a part of our trade and our survival. It was the only main staple of our food and our diet back then. They may not understand that, not because they're terrible people or anything like that. Nothing to do with that. It's just that they can't get it. Or not in tune to get it because they didn't go through it, they didn't grow up with it from the descent in and the cultural elements. So you can have a situation where we can have a parliament where one day, because for example, Northern American, Northern European, they're not fond of the beautiful little turtle that we talk about, and they get really surprised by the fact that we're allowed to eat it. And I say one day, we can be at jeopardy of potentially having a group of legislators whose mandate is to stop the eating of turtle in this country. Now, I'm not going to dispute whether that should be happening or not. I'm just giving you an example of what could happen, and you can use that example on any other situation. I know we got to go to a break. I'll give you an example of the other two scenarios upon which the dangers of what the people are telling me about, and they mainly focus on the pressures on the housing market by more demand. Once you have more Caymanians, you have a higher demand in the housing market, and the last one is on the fact that you have more competition for Caymanian businesses once you grant more statuses. But we'll go further into those when we talk.
Sure. And just before we go to the break, just to show you, there are some countries, I think Canada is one, where the what they call the First Nation or the indigenous people of Canada have now been certain hunting rights they have been given to them that they enjoyed previously. But now that is being given to them by the majority government and the majority of people who weren't First Nation people in Canada. For instance, seal hunting or other types of hunting that they've said, okay, we're going to reserve this for you because this is something that you used to do before. Exactly. What you're saying is that could happen,
that can happen
here in the Cayman Islands.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to allow you to eat turtle meat, or we're going to allow you to hunt turtle because that is a part of your tradition. But otherwise, if it wasn't part of your tradition, it wouldn't be a part of what we're doing anymore. And that all has to do with flipping the majority. When the majority of people in the Cayman Islands and those who have the right to vote, the right to run for office, outnumber those who were here original and consider themselves original Caymanians.
And that's why it's so risky right now.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, folks, top of the hour headline news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
The bulk waste project continues, and it's heading to Westside Cayman Brac this week on the 24th and 25th. Items accepted include appliances, mattresses, vegetative waste, furniture, bicycles, and scrap metal. China says products made by U.S. memory chip giant Micron Technology are a national security risk. The country's cyberspace regulator announced on Sunday that America's biggest maker of memory chips poses, quote, serious network security risks. It means the firm's products will be banned from key infrastructure projects in the world's second largest economy. It's China's first major move against a U.S. chipmaker as tensions increase between Beijing and Washington. And U.S. President Joe Biden and the top Republican Kevin McCarthy are due to meet at the White House today for talks on lifting the U.S. debt ceiling. The pair spoke on the phone on Sunday as the president was traveling back from the G7 summit in Japan. The two sides remain at odds over budget cuts demanded by the Republicans as a condition for raising the ceiling. The debt ceiling is a spending limit set by Congress, which determines how much money the government can borrow. Those are your headlines. I'm Carson Lee Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA's Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, Minister Kenneth Bryan and Minister Dwayne Seymour. Minister Seymour, I think you have the mic now.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I just want to put it out there that I was called late last night to come in because you said you had a space open. And I like the conversation, obviously. You know, people laughed at me many years ago when I spoke about population growth and us trying to get up to the 2.1 because we were only at 1.8. And we need 2.1 children to sustain and maintain our population. And that is one I don't really see a lot of conversations going on about us trying to ensure that we do that. We do have a serious problem in our country. Some are good problems and some are serious problems. The good problem is that we have more jobs than we have people, and the serious problem is that we have some of the jobs that persons take up on this island, persons that come to the island, seem to be better than the ones that our own locals are able to get their hands on, which is a serious problem, and we need to find ways. Obviously, I have to also mention that as Minister of Border Control and Labour, that I'm not here speaking on behalf of things that were agreed in caucus or otherwise, but some of my own opinion, and I just wanted to mention that. With this current dialogue going on now in the UK, it is important to take this opportunity, and especially in this day and age, of having our mother country hold on to those old archaic and colonial policies. It is not in the spirit with allowing territories who have already displayed, especially OC and responsible government, and to grow closer to self-governance, you know. And some people may become scared when you talk about self-governance. Doesn't definitely mean cutting yourself off from the UK. And I agree that there's some benefits with us being connected to the UK, as we can discuss. But I think at some point the mother has to let her child's hand go. You know, so some of the things that they spoke about in this meeting and one in particular I was interested in is the debt service ratio, and one that I think that we need to take the opportunity to discuss further, even possibly flying back to the UK and having further discussion on it. But I heard you mention earlier about BVI in terms of them trying to rewrite their constitution. Is going at that. This is the perfect time. The conversation is going on, and there's things that we didn't get in the last constitution, and I say this is where we need to have continuity, and this is why some countries fall down, some companies fall down, because we're worried about which party did this and which party did that, and we lose. We need to start right over again, because we don't talk to the persons before us, and it causes a serious breakdown, and we lose time by us having to start all over again. So what's wrong with us going to Sir Alden or even Mr. Bush or others who were on that on those previous trips, and talking to them, trying to get some information so we don't fall in the same traps moving forward. But I think that this is an opportune time for us now. We have some serious capital outlays that we need to find ways in dealing with, and we need to ensure that we have a discussion about the debt ratio, and there's other discussions that we need to have in this country in terms of our budget. So definitely, I heard you mention earlier and about in Canada, how the citizens, and I've always been a proponent of, and I said it a couple times at some of my public meetings in terms of the Seminole or the Mississippi Indians in Florida, how they control the casinos and so forth. No one else can do that. That has been left for them from the forefathers. And I say with the way that we see Cayman going now, we're the majority of the minority, and yes, there's more people here than we are than Caymanians, and we see that it's going that way. And we'll talk about that a bit later, because growth must benefit Caymanians in itself, and if it means that we need to just turn our eyes on creating Caymanian entrepreneurs and to ensure that we benefit out of the growth, but there has to be a special effort by the government and by the country itself to ensure that we that the wealth that is coming here, that we benefit from the wealth. We can't be growing as fast as we're growing. In fact, I spoke to Dr. Lockhart a couple of years ago, and he was very concerned about the growth of this country, that no other country in the world is growing this fast, and it can cause mental health problems, and hence the reason, as Minister of Health at the time, I tried to ensure that that we write the insurance policies that we could get more access to mental health care, and I think we definitely as a country need to ensure that throughout our communities, that and I agree with the current minister in terms of wellness. We need to try to ensure that our citizens we need to ensure that it's taken care of before it gets to that point, And I think wellness in itself needs to be spread throughout the communities, not only just at the clinics, not only just at the hospital itself, but we need to go into communities to ensure that we stop these things before they get to the point where it needs to be, where you need to send someone off the island. And there's a myriad of stuff that obviously that I would like to talk about, especially in my area. And definitely as Minister of Border Control, I see that there's some great low-hanging fruits that I've already been talking about with Chief Officer in the Ministry, of things that we need to do. Because I don't know who changed the law in terms of permanent residency, only 3 years, and then you can get status, etc. Some of those things needs to definitely they need to go back to what they were. Because I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think that people can stay married for 3 years, but it's harder to stay married for 7 years. So those are some of the things that I think that my caucus is interested in doing. There's a myriad of stuff that we want to, just common sense things that should have been done a long time ago. And you'll hear about some of those that we're bringing forward very soon. I've already asked them to prepare the papers to take on to caucus, because it says, look, no further discussion on these things. Let's just take these forward. So you definitely need to know that you have a person here as minister that loves my Cayman, also appreciates the foreigners are here. If you read the Bible, you have to appreciate foreigners. Jesus appreciated them, and that's not what it's about. Every one of us are as Dr. Roy Bodden had said one time, we all are from somewhere, and definitely my family connection being out of Jamaica and all around the Caribbean and so forth. So it's not about that. It's about us trying to ensure that Caymanians, we need to have the benefit of earning and living in this country.
Yeah.
A lot of Caymanians can't.
We have to share in the success. We have to share in the success.
It has to be shared.
Also, if I could, through you, Minister, is that, you see, we need to do a more forensic analysis as to why are we saying that we're not getting the benefit.
Yeah.
There is some benefits. There's pros and cons to any situation that we talk about. But obviously, like I was just highlighting before, a number of these, once you get that grant, a lot of power comes with those grants, and it has potential negative effects on your generational people. But it also has negative effects on those who are new Caymanians now too, because when I think about the last point that I highlighted, which is the freedom from any limitations for ownership restrictions, if there's a body of 100 voter Caymanians right now, and let's just say 40% of them are new Caymanians, 60% of them are old Caymanians, the more you add to that number, the more competition that you're going to have. So if there's a Mr. Tomlinson who has a shoe shop, every grant of a status is a potential chance for that person to say, I now have the freedom to open a business and compete with Mr. Thompson or Mr. Jackson, who was Canadian and he's become Caymanian. So it's not only about the generational Caymanians, but all of those who are in the room, who are a part of this family now, whether you're new or old. I think I'm saying that we need to protect those who are here, because at this rate, where nobody's analyzing the increase and what the ripple effects are, and I use a prime example all the time, is the demand on housing is the key one right now that is harming the people, because we're so free and loose with the opportunity to get rights to become Caymanian and residency, that the demand on housing, because it's used as a way to get points, as it's used as a way to say, if I'm going to become Caymanian, I need a place to stay.
It's a part of the formula.
It's part of the formula. So with that high demand, the increase in prices on the housing market has shot through the roof, especially at a time where the interest rates are so high and the loan availability by many banks are really, really low. So Caymanians are at a disadvantage for that. So that's an example of the negativity of the speed of giving these grants, not because we don't love people who've come here. We've always been a welcoming people, but we have to analyze this now, because the negative effects are starting to pile up on us. And if we don't do something now, we can find ourselves, like I said on Friday, totally different in 10 to 20 years than we ever thought before.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, can we talk a little bit more about this and about the moratorium on Caymanian status? And you spoke about 20 years down the line. If we can look back 20 years
ago,
right, 2003, and the grant of almost 2,500 statuses. Some were well deserved because it gave persons who have Caymanian connections who were possibly overseas, gave them an opportunity to apply for it. But it gave more persons who were here on island, just here on work permits. We have heard stories of some not necessarily being here legally. We've heard stories of some who were outside the islands on a work permit, not Cayman, no Caymanian connection, on a work permit in another jurisdiction, and look and see and question. We now see the impact of those. So if we don't do something about the continuous grants of status 20 years down the line, I am sure that we probably would end up granting more than 2,500.
Oh, yeah.
Given more grants of status than 2,500. So, you know, how do we address it? So when we return, can we talk some more about that, problem. Folks? Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough, and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
I tell you what, I need to find a way to bring my electricity costs down. I don't want to see another high bill next month.
Have you tried doing an energy audit?
A what?
An energy audit. The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Oh yeah? I'm going to log on to that website right now. What was it again?
Visit energy.gov.ky to download do-it-yourself energy audits for your home or business. There is even a fun activity guide for kids.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costyless, and Foster's.
Visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Minister with Constitutional Responsibility for Border Control and Labor, Honorable Dwayne Seymour, and Minister with Responsibility for Tourism and Ports, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan. They are in the studio with us. Let's talk a little bit more about the status grants and if we were to place a moratorium, how would we go about it? We know that in the 80s, I think we went either 10 or 12 years, I'll do the research, where at one point they were an annual grant of 12 statuses per year. And there was a moratorium placed on it either officially or unofficially. We know that the board didn't deal with them for about 10 years. So at the end of the day, one of the arguments that may have been used for the 2003 grants of status as well, was the fact that the moratorium had affected the grants before. But how would we go about placing a moratorium, and would the moratorium be on the grants of status in all cases, or would there be exceptions in relation to marriage and descent?
Good point. OC, firstly, before I respond to that, I want to reiterate again that both myself and my colleague have highlighted the fact that our positions here today is not the position of the collective government. We want to recognize that the type of structured government you have is one of independent formation of the PAC administration. And whenever there's a unified front or a unified collective position, it'll come through cabinet or through the premier's position on our behalf. Today we're just talking about something that is a major issue for the people of this country, and we're giving our personal views about it, as we are going to eventually have to have these discussions in caucus as to where our collective position is. So again, this is not speaking on behalf of all members, but we're speaking independently within our own position. So it gives you a snapshot of what kind of discussion will be brought to the table at the caucus level before it goes to cabinet. In respect to the question you talk about, well, which statuses of a moratorium we were speaking about, I think it's fair to say that we're not suggesting that the first three ones that we were talking about are up for grabs. So we did say we have 4 different types of statuses: status by birth, status by descent, status by marriage, and then you go into the fourth one, which is the grant of statuses. That's the one that's in question. So I'm not suggesting, at least me personally, that we would put a moratorium on any status granted by birth, obviously, or by descent, a Caymanian coming home and their mother was born in New York or what have you, or by marriage, because a Caymanian should be able to award the opportunity to love and live with the person which is their chosen partner for the rest of their life. Now, whether there's questions about marriage of convenience, I think that's up for the immigration enforcement arm to investigate that. I think it should be a little bit longer, like the Honorable Minister has said, where you're getting status too quickly. All right? I think that you should prove that your marriage and your relationship is bold and strong enough that you shouldn't have to be jumping to get status right away.
But we've come a long way on that too. Remember now in the 1972 immigration was called the Caymanian Protection Law. If you were a British citizen or citizen of a Commonwealth country, right, you automatically acquired Caymanian status once you were married. So we moved away from that, and I'm trying to remember what year, whether or not it was in the 90s or in the mid 80s, where we moved away from that and we put a time period for the marriage to subsist before you were able to grant it. But there was one time, if you were from a particular, if you were part of the Commonwealth, you automatically obtain Caymanian status on marriage. The date that you got married, you were deemed to be Caymanian.
Fair enough, and I accept that. And obviously that change happened for a reason. Right? And they moved to the point where I think it was at least 7 years of marriage first before you can get it. But now it's been reduced again. Now we're going back to the opposite direction, where our forefathers had said, listen, we need to put enough protections in place. Now, it's a very touchy thing when you're talking about a Caymanian's partner. That's the person they love, sometimes the mother or father of their children. So we got to be careful with that one. But I think the immigration should be held accountable to their investigation measures to ensure that these marriages are not for convenience. But it's hard to prove. So, but I want to move away from that to go back now to the ones that we're talking about a moratorium is the granted ones based on residency. So I think it's hard for us not to talk about the status moratorium without talking about the residency changes. Because the reason why statuses are currently being given so quickly or so easily is on the basis that they're allowed to apply for residency, are allowed to be in the Cayman Islands on work permit up to 9 years. Now, up to 9 years, I say that because on I think it's year 8 or year 7, that they're allowed to apply for permanent residency.
After year 8.
Yeah, after year 8. Thank you very much, OC. So what I am saying is, and that was on that year, that number of years was on the basis of international interpretation to the legal requirements that if you go any further than that, you may find yourself in international legal obligation to give a person some rights to the jurisdiction, and therefore we did it at year 8 because after year 9 you can basically apply to say I should be Caymanian based on a tenureship here. I am of the view that once person gets a residency in Cayman, it's pretty much a straight pathway into status. Unless you committed a crime, all you just got to do is wait it out, and it's almost a guarantee for status. So we must ask ourselves, if we want to address the status grant problem, we have to address the residency problem. And this is where Lord Graham and I agree. I think we could even examine, and again, this is subject to change because we have to examine what the options are and what the effects are. But do we go to a place where we're saying a rollover after 5 years? And that's it. You just get no chance for application. And that would be the moratorium in itself. So how do we stop this almost automatic flow of grant for status? So we have to re-examine the residency requirements, because we recognize that the problems that are coming along with the increase in numbers of status grants are affecting our people in a negative way. Obviously, there's some positives, but we're hearing from the people that we're seeing a dilution of our voting power by majority in this country. We're seeing a very high demand on the housing market. We're seeing that the more Caymanians that we are granting status to is increasing our cost by way of we have to build more spaces for schools, for kids. And every child that goes to the government school gets free lunches. We see the increase in NEU dependency. We see the increase in costs in health care provisions for those who are Caymanian, because we can't turn them away. We see that with more increases in statuses, that there's more competition for those who are Caymanian now. And in this case, this isn't about new and old Caymanian. This is about who's Caymanian now and who isn't. Because every person that comes along, whether you have a shoe shop as a new Caymanian, or if you have a shoe shop as a generational Caymanian, every grant of a status is more competition from a commercial business perspective. And there is a reason why the law says 60-40 currently right now, that you as a non-Caymanian have to have a Caymanian involved. And that provision is to protect the commercial interests of our people. Our forefathers fought very hard to offer this amazing economy that we have today. And if we do not protect that we are the beneficiaries of that economy, those who want a better life, and I don't blame them for it. If I saw another country that I can make good money and all the freedoms are given to me, I'll travel there too. So we have to make sure that we put provisions in place to protect Caymanians to get the benefit of this economy.
Yeah, and just picking up, thank you, Minister. Just picking up on that, we'll see is the increase in our infrastructure, and who pays for that? We're all paying for it now, and most Caymanians are saying, look, but I didn't cause this. Why do we need to expand the road system? I didn't cause this. It's only 20,000 of us or 30,000 of us, and these are things that we really need to look at, because Caymanians just feel that it's unfair to them that we need to do all this increase in infrastructure, and we also need to pay for it too. So that's another thing that we need to look at. But I just want to say, as Minister of Border Control, and obviously these are things that haven't been discussed fully with the caucus. But I must say that we can't pair people up with who we think that they should love or marry. That's not our that should never be our attempt. But
of course they hold you responsible when it goes bad, and when they come and say, I want you to get this person off the island because of the XYZ.
But I can tell you, as minister, I will attempt to bring a caucus discussion. It's already started happening, but a more serious one once the paper is approved from my ministry, to create a stricter PR point system. Whether we're going into a moratorium or not, but we need to create a stricter PR point system. so fewer people can qualify. Are people really coming here for citizenship, or are they coming here to make their lives better? I think it's a bit of both. Some people have caught on, and some people have recognized this is a place to come if you want an easier way passage to a better life, and you can get citizenship. I think that there's a bit of both. But of course, OC, anything we do will cause some concerns in terms of human rights and otherwise. So we will have to check with the Attorney General every step of the way to ensure that we're doing things correctly. But we must change the PR point system. Of course, those who have already applied would have to be grandfathered in.
Okay, we have to take our commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What exactly are the steps in the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey? Step 1 is a questionnaire where you'll be asked about your health behaviors and lifestyle choices. Step 2 involves home measurements like height, weight, and blood pressure. Lastly, Step 3 is a finger prick blood sample for cholesterol and glucose. STEPS 2023 starts on June 3rd. Learn more by logging on to www.gov.ky/steps.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
The annual business surveys are ongoing. The surveys are conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office, ESO, and seek to measure the economic performance of all local industries. The ESO sincerely thanks those who participated in last year's survey. The survey forms were mailed or emailed to all relevant entities operating in the Cayman Islands. The surveys are confidential under the Statistics Act and are exempt from the Freedom of Information Act. Your response matters. Do your part. Fill out and return your survey forms to the Economics and Statistics Office. For assistance in filling up the forms or for more information, visit www.eso.ky or call 244-4676 or 244-4600. Better data, better decisions, better business.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have some inquiries as to whether or not phone lines are going to be opened up. And gentlemen, anything more that you want to say before then?
See, this is going to be one of those kind of shows where we can be here and talk for a long time, but we have to listen to the people. There's so many points that I didn't get to say, and I recognize we're going to be done in 25 minutes. So let's hear from the people who are most important, and let's just give them the commitment that we'll come back on the show again to allow this discussion, because only when we have this dialogue, because nobody's perfect, we may not be right on everything, but we want to say what we think with the reflection of the most people feel. And if you think that we're on the right track with this interpretation in respect to this matter of status and permanent residency, please let us know. So we want to hear from the people based on phone calls.
I just wanted to add some stats here. As of today, it's 35,646 people here on work permit, and another 6,599 persons on PR. So I just wanted to note that. So that's going way beyond, and there's more coming every day.
Yeah.
And we need to ensure that Caymanians benefit from any growth that this island is seeing.
Okay, one of our listeners said, this is a question for Minister Labour. Why are work permit holders that break the terms or breach the terms of their work permit, that is, for instance, working outside the terms of their work permit, allowed to remain on island to seek other employment when they have broken the law? I guess that's more for the enforcement people, in that regard. But it is extremely difficult, for. Go ahead, Minister.
Well, what I'd add is they would probably have to be more specific as to what part of the law they broke. Is it just broke their work permit, and then you would have to delve down into why did they broke it? Were they being treated fairly or unfairly at their former workplace, etc. So there's a number of things. I don't think you can just use a blanket answer to kind of cover that. But I would say though that if persons are coming here and being disingenuous about the place that they're going to work at, a person put in all the effort to get them here on the island, I think these persons don't deserve to be here.
Mm-hmm. And then there are instances also where people apply for work permit. They may or may not have work for them at the time that the application is made, but somewhere down the line there is no work, and they say to them, I'm going to hold your work permit, but I'm going to allow you to go and work somewhere else as well. And here we have another one. This is for both of you. This person says, could you please ask the honorable ministers whether they would personally support, one, a proper comprehensive review of our immigration, work and labor regulatory systems.
Check.
And two, the imposition of a meaningful development and infrastructure impact fees on large developments and the elimination of concessions during boom times.
I'll give my personal view quickly. The first one, yes. The second one, yes and yes, just to put a caveat in there in respect to concessions. And the caveat is there that during boom times. But because concessions has to be a reserved power and ability by any government during difficult times to be an incentive for growth and development, right? So they can create working opportunities and economic growth. So yes, if things are booming, there's no reason you should be giving a concession. So I support those positions. I don't see anything wrong with them. I think they're logical.
Okay. Go ahead, Minister.
Yes and yes to the first two. We definitely need to do an overhaul and investigate further on those two. In terms of concessions, I think we need to boom time. Yes, you can't be giving away the same amount of concessions during boom time. But we also need to look at, are we trying to encourage Caymanian business or otherwise? Is it the Caymanian that wants the concession? And is that a way for us to be able to encourage new entrepreneurs? So we need to investigate all.
Okay. We don't have any callers.
Oh, good. I'm assuming that most people
everyone's listening.
Everybody's listening and taking in what we're saying here as positive. I want to say something though, which is there's a difference between population growth and the growth in the numbers of Caymanians. And we can't mix up the two. And it's important that we analyze that when we're having our discussions and dialogue about this, right? So we currently have, I can't even remember the exact number of Caymanians or those who are eligible to be Caymanian. Matter of fact,
I was trying to get that information.
Dr. McField gave us that in the Boundary Commission report. I have it here. So whatever that exact figure, because right now I know we're almost up to 80,000 persons in the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are some some people who believe that the Caymanians are already in a minority when you look at the numbers.
Yes. We are, and the reason why I said we are the majority of the minority is because all the other nationalities are here. We are still the largest nationality of all those, but altogether there are more people here than we are.
So So quickly, just to say that you can increase the numbers of your population without increasing the numbers of Caymanians. Because hypothetically speaking, let's say, for instance, there's 5 more law firms that want to move to the Cayman Islands headquarters, 5 more hotels that want to be done here. They would need working people for those areas. That doesn't mean the population of people who have the right to be Caymanian has changed. Your population has grown. What we're talking about here is not the population control, the control of who has power and control in your country, which is those who are granted Caymanian status. Right. That's what I'm talking about. Because growth is, and I must agree with Sir Alan when he says this, the day that you stop growing is the day that you die.
Yeah.
Now, plenty of people don't want to like that. Right? People don't like that because they say, oh, we're moving, we don't need more development. And I agree that development in the context of just buildings, but the growth of your society means the turnover of money, which gives us opportunity for Caymanians to benefit financially.
Now, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, Minister.
No problem.
If we use that analogy, let's say for the minute that we stop growing, then we begin to die. If we use that analogy in relation to a tree may stop growing higher, getting taller, but it may renew its leaves. So the leaves drop and then it sprout new leaves again. So you replace the other one. So we maybe need to be in a replacement situation. And what we spoke about earlier off air, where the natural growth of our population should never be exceeded by the unnatural growth through immigration.
Okay, hold on now. You're talking about 2 different things. That's why I said it's clear that we have to point out.
Yeah.
Growth of population and growth of who can be Caymanian is 2 different levels, right? What we're talking about is in respect to the growth of who's Caymanian generationally, as opposed to those who are Caymanian through grant. Once that ratio is unbalanced, where the problem comes in, how many people who are here on work permit creates another set of problems, but is irrelevant from the power control of your parliament, of your societal norms, of your competition as in business, as in your demand on housing, and the cost associated with the infrastructure, schools, roads, NAU, and all those other factors. Those disciplines is about who is Caymanian and how they're Caymanian, not the population. Because the population can drop right now and you still have the same amount of Caymanians in the country, and the ratio of that makeup of those Caymanians.
Okay. So I just wanted to note a figure here, some stats, is that there's approximately 38,000 Caymanians here, and out of that is 23,496 voters.
Okay, yeah.
No breakdown as to which ones are generational and non-Caymanian, are new Caymanians.
And as the population grows, there's going to be more pressure depending on which government is in place in the UK. But I believe either one, the Labour or Conservative government, they're going to put pressure on us and say, look at the size of your population and look at the size of your voting population. Totally unacceptable.
Here's the reason why I say we had to pay close attention to those discussions. The whole country, every single person, whether you're a politician, a doctor, a nurse, a garbage man, a sales clerk, all of us have to be paying close attention to the discussions in the UK. And I encourage again the management and staff here at Radio Cayman to air that debate so the people of this country can hear where the thinking is in the parliament members.
And if you need a sponsor, the Ministry of Tourism and Sports will sponsor the whole broadcast.
Yes.
Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we have one voice note and we have one caller on hold. We will accommodate both, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Ensuring your existing appliances and equipment are cleaned and maintained regularly is an easy way to improve energy efficiency in your home.
Have your air conditioning equipment serviced by a professional. Make sure bathroom and kitchen exhaust fans and refrigerator coils are cleaned regularly, because the harder your appliances have to work, the higher your bills will be.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costuless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
Attention North Side and East End residents. The Department of Environmental Health North Side and East End residents bulk waste collection will take place between May 22nd to the 27th. This bulk waste collection will replace the traditional year-end collection. Household appliances, furniture, and other items too large to be handled by the weekly DEH collection crews should be placed by the roadside, where it is easily accessible to DEH collection crews. Metals and vegetation should also be separated from other bulk items. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place tires, construction and demolition waste, hazardous materials, or electronics. For more information on the North Side and East End bulk waste collection from May 22nd to the 27th, please contact DEH's Solid Waste Management Section at 949-6696.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have one voice message, one voice note, and one caller. So we're going to accommodate those. First, we're going to accommodate the caller. But before we go there, one of our listeners also is querying whether or not any discussions took place in caucus, in cabinet, prior to the joint ministerial council meeting. They have noted that in the past that some leaders took with them ministers whose subject were related to some of the issues that were being discussed at the joint ministerial council, and they are curious about that as well. Ms. Susan, which one you want to do first, the caller? The voice note? Let's do the voice note, and then we'll take the caller.
Good morning on a good Monday morning. Minister Bryan, I like what you're saying. I like that you have some good support from Minister Seymour. If you recall, a few weeks ago we were at a friend's house who cooks good fish stew rundown. We shan't name him because his head will get big and then he'll be calling in about something else. He shall remain nameless, but we were at his house and I mentioned to you that these are the type of issues that people might think is a bit radical, but are needy. I'm very happy to see that you no doubt had it in your mind already, but you're now bringing it to the forefront. I commend you, I support you, and I guarantee you, you have the wholehearted support of the majority of the populace of these beloved Cayman Islands. Keep it up, my good friends. Keep it up.
I want to thank that caller.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go to the phone line now. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to my nephew there and the minister, John.
Morning.
Minister Brian, I should title him as my nephew. Gentlemen.
Uncle Albert, you can call me Kenneth anytime. You're my uncle, remember?
All right, man. All right, no problem, bro. Just want to touch on something because I've been against this from day one with the population growth of these 3 islands. It's a dangerous practice, and I think John just said that the population of Grand Cayman is 38,000. That leaves 60,000+ people, and it ain't, like I said before, it's not going to stop there to come into the Cayman Islands for freeness into this country to own something and to take what is ours. Now, when we bring that amount of people into this country, whether it's for them to retain a permanent residency or for them to come in and work, it is still causing a problem. And I was Googling United States, the problems that they had. North Dakota was the only area that prevented permanent residences from coming in and voting. They cannot do that in that area of the country. We have other areas that I check out, and they had the same issue that we are arising on now to get a populace of 100,000 and growth and more. That, to me, is a disaster waiting to happen in this country. We are too small for that. And why I say that is, when we tend to put these things forward, we are overridden by the majority, and we will be taken over, and they will demand what we can't demand, and that is the right for them to have the right in our country, not their country. They're coming here as a tourist, as a visitor, and they're going to get permanent residency where they hold the right to come here, take jobs, take such thing as a voting privilege. And these are the things that we have to stop before it happens. And why I said the part about voting, when these people come in, remember when the Cubans started to go into Florida, the Floridians thought that the Cubans couldn't take it over. They thought that they couldn't override them. They thought that they couldn't give them privileges. Today they have more privileges in Florida than Floridians. You can't find Floridians anymore.
Very good example, Colin. Very good example.
Yeah, and that is the same thing that's going to happen in this country. If we allow them to come here, they're going to be demanding what they want. And one of those things is the right for them to vote. And we have to be careful when we put in our feet, because when we put our feet where we can't take it back out of the mud, we're going to be stuck there with nothing hanging over our head but a block waiting to crush us. Gentlemen, I'll be listening to your comments. If you want to ask me something, I'll hold on, but thank you for your time.
Uncle Albert, if you can, just be quick because we're going to have to wrap up shortly, right? But the point is that we have to recognize the separation of the two different numbers we're talking about, the population and the increase in the whole population based on work permit holders and Caymanians and residents is separate and apart from the population of those who have a right to vote and control the destiny of the future of this country. And I want to separate the two because one, even though they're interlinked and they come with common problems, not all two of them have the same issue. So if we were to say every work permit holder is no longer in Cayman, it's just purely Caymanian and permanent residents, we wouldn't have some of the problems that we're having. What I'm talking about is the rate and the growth and the speed of the granting of those persons' status and residency, which affords them rights constitutionally, which comes with other problems and issues that are affecting Caymanians that are here. So we can, right now, if you had, say, 50,000 Caymanians, residents and status holders, and you increase the population to 150,000, that means you got 100,000 work permit holders. That doesn't change the power of control parliamentary-wise and constitutional-wise. It doesn't matter what that work permit hold number is. It's about whether or not those persons will have an opportunity to become Caymanian later on. And that's why the re-examination of the residency system and the way we are so easy to give away that constitutional right and powers. So I want to make sure that we analyze and separate the two. But recognizing the time, I'll leave it there.
We're going to try to squeeze one more caller in before I give both of you an opportunity for some closing comments as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. We're going to ask you to try to please be as brief as possible because we're running out of time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good.
Good to hear your voice.
I want to congratulate the two honorable members for discussing this position this morning, because I too, as a Caymanian, am very concerned about the number of people who are applying and getting permanent residence and status is far outnumbering Caymanians. Caymanians is far outnumbered right now, and I'm concerned that you have to apply the brakes. Now, in addition to that, one other point that I'm also concerned about is we got one or two large corporations or people who are buying up vast acreage of land. I'm concerned what's going to happen to my grandchildren or my children or the next one's grandchildren. Where's the land coming from? I hear people say government is buying some land in East End. If you're living in West Bay or Georgetown, why should you have to go to East End? We got people buying out vast tracts, 9,000 acres, 2 miles up on the bluff, 500 acres here, 700 acres there. Government has to put the foot down, otherwise there will be no land for our children or grandchildren.
Agreed.
And I congratulate you all on what you're doing. You have to tighten up on this permanent residence and status, because it is very easy to get permanent residence and status, and Caymanians already are outnumbered by certain. You don't have to be a addition of, say, several countries. We got at least one country that are in excess of the number of Caymanians. And I don't know any other country in the world would allow more people than their own indigenous people to come in and be outnumbered.
Yep. Dangerous move. Caller, I want to thank you very much. Sorry I have to cut you off there, but running out of time. Gentlemen, one of our listeners basically has said, I want to find that. Good morning. They said that they're glad to hear the comments that you are making, and trying to find it. It said about staying on
track with the
path. and okay, I'll find it. Meanwhile, Minister Seymour, I want to give you an opportunity for some closing comments.
Well, thank you very much. And obviously, we recognize that we're a territory, and it's not about taking a radical approach. That's never my intent. And I know that we have passive people here, but we need to slow it down. And in fact, I would say speed it up if Caymanians were benefiting. But Caymanians are not benefiting, and we need to slow it down to try to find a way for Caymanians to benefit from our growth. I would not say stop growth, but we need to benefit from whatever growth. So if we had a model that was wrong for the last 40 years, then let us renew that to ensure that Caymanians benefit from whatever growth is coming our way, and it looks like more are coming. What I'm concerned about is Caymanians being able to live, work, and play in our own country. If it is in discussing supermarkets to create a reasonable basket of goods that is fixed and known that families can afford, we need to discuss fuel, mortgages. I don't understand how people having lost more homes. I feel so bad, when I see these interest rates go up. We need to talk about simple things as child care for single parents who are forced to work overtime at some companies, and if they don't work, then they lose their jobs, and then they're left to the behest of the NAU. You know, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about how we treat our people in general. We need to take stock of that. It's not just telling people to turn off your AC in the day and try to save where you can. And people are living paycheck to paycheck. And we need to find ways. As a government, we're elected for persons for us to find ways for them to make
their lives much easier.
In this country that we live and love.
Yeah.
And so many Caymanians are moving overseas. So many Caymanian students that here say they're not coming back. They're just going to get a job overseas. We need to change that.
Yep.
And if this is not the government that intends to do that, then the people will speak at the next election.
Okay.
I thank you very much for having me on this morning.
So the writer says, keep up the good work, Minister Bryan and Minister Seymour, but just keep humble and cool and collected.
Very good advice.
Like
Very good advice, because that's what they've been. My passion has been mistaken for assertiveness, and that's the thing. They'll try to use you to strip out you. So whoever sent that message, tell them thank you so much. I try myself to pray and ask God to give me strength, because I'm a very passionate person and can be mistaken quite easily. In wrapping up today, I just want to say, OC, thank you so much for allowing us to be on. I want to thank the callers for their input in the discussion this morning. We didn't have much time for the callers, but I hope that this morning's discussion will spark more conversation. Call back on Wednesday. Talk with OC if we can't be here, if there is not, if there's open time for this discussion. I think, and we'll be willing to come back on, myself and the Honourable Minister Seymour, to further this analysis and the importance of these changes, because sometimes we just move on our day-to-day lives not realizing things are happening that are affecting their lives in a negative way, and we have to address them. And that's our job as representatives for our good people of Bartontown West, Bartontown East, and Georgetown Central, and the PAC government as a whole. I want to say that we are intending to come back on, and we're here to talk about things that make your life easier, not harder. We are a consumption-based society, and everything is imported. It's really, really hard to control cost of living. So if we can't control the cost of business and cost of living, that means we have to control the cost of income for our people. That means we have to protect them in every way we can through our law. So we can't change the price of rice coming from China. But I can tell you what, I can protect and make sure that the Caymanian is the seller of that rice in this country so they can afford it. And that's what I believe in. I believe in protecting the Caymanians, and I'm talking about all of them. So who's inside now? You're a part of this family. And even if you're a new Caymanian listening to this, remember the dialogue that we're talking about today is protecting all Caymanians. Right, because
could affect them later on.
It could affect you later on too. So we have to jump on this board together to say we have to analyze this to make sure those who are inside the gate are protected. Because right now everybody's trying to jump on the boat, and the boat going to sink, and the boat can only carry so much. We need to take a stop check, and this is what we're trying to examine. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here. We'd be happy to be back on to have further analysis.
Certainly. And one of our listeners said they have never yet heard of a work permit holder who's unemployed. But Caymanians being unemployed, as well. Folks, way over the time. I will not have my closing monologue this morning. I'll just simply say to you, join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman.